Hi, I'm Josh with Woodland Mills, and I'm here today with the HM122 Sawmill. And for our 10th anniversary, we've added a lot of new features and construction details to the sawmill, and I want to start by going over them one by one. I'm going to start with the track, and we'll work our way through the whole sawmill, and then we're going to put a log on it, and we'll put it to work. So if we look at the track system, the standard track is around 13 feet long, and it allows you to cut just over 10-foot logs. It's an L rail that's been machined at the top to ensure they're all true, and it's a 2 1/4 in height by 2 1/2 in width. You'll see our bunk system has a nice wide bearing surface, and that gives you a soft bearing surface or a wide bearing surface for the logs, and then when you're turning them, it doesn't mark them up. We've got leveling legs, so there's 12 leveling legs on the standard track. And with those leveling legs, you've got about 4 inches of adjustment. So your surface has to be within 4 inches of level, and then you use the leveling legs to true the track system. You'll see the log supports on the back. And we've got long log supports, and we also ship it with short log supports. Now the short log supports are for when the track system is installed close to the ground, and it wouldn't allow your long supports to get out of the way. So we've got it raised up a bit, but these will let you make your last cut if it was installed on a hard surface right on the ground. As we work our way along here, you'll see our log clamp. And this is what you use to hold the log tight against the log supports when you're milling. You'll see it slides along and it self-locks on this bar, and then you use the screw to push in and tighten that log or that cant against the log supports. Now that I've covered the track system, I want to come up and we'll talk about the water lube tank. So we use an aluminum tank, so this won't degrade in the UV like a lot of plastic tanks would. We've got our filler stop here. It holds just about 10 liters, and this is going to be water and a soap mixture. On the side here, we've added a level indicator. And this allows us just a quick visual check of how much is in the tank before you start cutting, so you don't run out halfway through your cut. You'll come down here, we'll see a needle valve, and this lets us set the flow rate so that we set the flow rate based on the conditions of the cut. So if we've got old logs that are dry or sappy logs and we need more, we can adjust this flow rate to really tune in with the material that we're cutting. To go along with that, we have an auto lube system. And what this does is it's actuated by the throttle cable. So we use the original throttle cable to actuate the water valve right here on the engine. So there's no additional effort and there's no additional maintenance of that second cable. And this just turns the lube on when the throttle is fully depressed. So when you're actually going to cut, the lube turns on, and when you stop your cut to come back, the lube turns off. So it's a lot less wasted lube, and it makes it completely easy as the user to just push it and go. From here, I want to talk about what's in behind the band wheels. So we've got our draw latches here. There's 3 draw latches, plus the safety bolt in the middle. And the HM122 utilizes 16-inch cast iron band wheels with double sealed bearings pushed in from the rear. So you'll see heavy gauge or heavy duty cast iron band wheels, 16-inch in diameter. We have a cogged V-belt, which you'll see carries the blade all the way around the band wheel and cushions the blade to the band wheel. You'll see here our belt tensioner. So by loosening the two bolts, we can easily tension the belt to the proper tension with the grip of the hand, and then you can retighten the locking bolt. And this allows you to easily set the belt tension so that the motor stays fixed and all the adjustment is done in here. On the follower side, you'll see we use a urethane belt, again on the cast iron band wheel with the bearings pushed in from the rear. On the engine, we have a centrifugal clutch, and you'll see it moving here independent of the engine. So this works with our gas and go system. So now when we push the throttle, the clutch engages, it spins the band wheels, spins the blade, and the lubricant turns on at the same time. So with the guards open, I now want to talk about our blade guide system and the throat opening. So I'll start with this bar here. This is a safety, and it's designed to hit the log supports on the back of the log before your blade does. So it's adjustable, and I'm going to give it a turn here to get it out of the way to better show you the guide. But this is the set bolt for the safety catch. You'll see with the guides, this is a machined aluminum. It's got a hardened steel insert on the top and the bottom. And these hardened steel blocks are designed to catch the blade from going up or down if you hit something in the wood that you weren't expecting, a foreign object, a knot, something that's not the regular cutting process. Under normal conditions, these blocks are going to be set so you have a space to the blade or a clearance to the blade on the top and the bottom. So we like these guide blocks because you have a catch in both directions, up and down. And the wear on these hardened steel blocks is really minimal because under normal conditions, they're not actually seeing any wear at all. It's just a catch in extreme situations. The adjustment of the guide is done with a set bolt, which is just hidden in the back here. And you'll see this shaft here. So this can move in and out, and this brings you up to the back of the blade. Now we run a high-speed sealed bearing, and it's up inside of here. And that is also set at a clearance, again, to the back of this blade. So under normal milling conditions, this bearing's not going to see a lot of use. But what that bearing's designed to do is if you start pushing faster than the blade can cut, you're going to start applying a force on the overall band, and it's going to want to push it back. So that bearing is going to catch that and give you something to push against, and then you're going to feel that extra force and you'll be able to slow down your cut rate. So you always want to let the band cut at the pace you're trying to push. If you push too hard, you're going to be applying a force on those bearings, and that's not how it's designed to cut. So you want to let the blade do the cutting and just keep the pace set with the material you can remove. As your blade dulls, you're also going to find that it's going to want to apply load on those bearings. And that, again, is a reminder for you that your blade is getting dull and it's going to be time to change that blade. It's designed to take a very small amount of material while you're cutting, so that reduces the effort. It makes the smaller engines much more efficient at cutting because we are removing that small amount of material. On these blades, there's going to be a tooth bent or set downwards. There's a rake tooth which cleans the cut, and then there's a tooth set upwards. So as you're going along, the teeth are clearing a path for the back band, so it slides through and there won't be any pinching on the blade. When we look at the far side here, we have the exact same guide block with the same hardened steel inserts top and bottom. You'll see the stainless steel set screws here, and you'll also see this copper tube. So the copper tube passes right through that shaft, and this is where the water and soap mixture is going to come. In the winter, you can also use a windshield washer fluid as the lubricant, and then it's going to be automatically activated when you hit the throttle of the engine, and then you'll see the lubricant come out, and you'll see how it's going to come right onto the blade. Next, I want to talk about the dimensions in here. So between these two guide assemblies, we've got a full width of just over 20 inches, and we've got a cutting height at that 20-inch width of just over 6 inches. So if you had a cant squared up to 20 inches in width, you could cut a 6-inch slab off the top of it, above the blade. Typically you're cutting, you know, smaller dimensions above the blade, but that is possible with this to do a 6-inch by 20-inch wide cut. I'm going to close the guards now, and we'll go around to the back of the mill. We are offering the 122 with 2 power choices. So we've got the Kohler Command Pro in the 9.5 horsepower, as well as a 7 horsepower option. And you can choose that when you're ordering the Sawmill. You've got your log scale here with your indicator. You'll see this red indicator, and we've built an adjustment so you can zero it during your cut. We also use magnetic log scales, so they're removable and adjustable, and we ship 2 log scales, but because of their nature you can have custom log scales made as well, because it's just magnetic strip. To raise and lower the saw head, we use a hand winch with stainless steel cable. So the stainless steel cable requires no maintenance. It doesn't have any stretch. It runs on a set of pulleys that all have bearings inside of them, again for ease of maintenance and longevity. We have a locking pin that allows us to, it's a self-locking crank, but for more precise indexing, you can put it and keep it locked. On the back panel here, you're going to see an hour meter. So this hour meter runs on the vibration of the machine, so it can sense that the engine's on, and it keeps track of how long that engine's been running. So that allows you to, you know, stage your maintenance intervals for the engine and keep track of how much the sawmill's been used. Speaking of the maintenance, we've added an oil change extension here to the engine. So this, we brought out the oil plug so that when you're changing the oil, you don't have to try and get your wrenches in here or remove the engine. We've brought it out so it's easy to catch the old oil, and then you can refill it from the same side or the other. On this side we have our manual tube, which is where the manual will be shipped, and that's all your assembly instructions. From the wide angle here at the back, you're going to see our 4-post design. So this is all 2x2 tubing, sandwiched between the laser plates here. And that gives us a nice rigid structure so that, again, when you're pushing the mill and you're pushing its limits, you have something to push on. So now when we're applying the force, it's being carried right through to the front of the mill. So on that 4-post, we've got our roller wheels that run on the track. We've got our stainless steel sweeper wires here, so nice and simple. These are adjustable, so you could reset them as they wear, but they've got a really long service life. We use a radiused machined groove in these wheels, and they hone into the top of the square rails over time, making a matched set. Again, we've got press sealed bearings inside of these wheels, so you have a nice precise fit and a smooth roll. You'll see as we move to the top, the beam up front here is all welded, and it takes these 2 plates and clamps the 4 posts and carries the load across. So it gives us a nice sturdy frame to carry all that load back to the rear bar and to make it one solid unit. Up here on the top cross support, you'll see our integrated lifting loops. And this is at a nice balance point in the mill head, and you can use these locations as a lifting point for the saw head if you have the equipment to do so. On the slides here on the post, so the head slides up and down with nylon slides for low friction and a tight fit. You'll see over here we've got our new RapidChange blade change system. So we've separated the tension from the tracking of the blades. So now when you're changing blades It's as easy as undoing the tension, blade comes off, new blade goes back on, and you just retighten this back to flush, and you're ready to cut again. With this system, the tracking and the tension being independent, you don't have to worry about retracking when you're changing your blades. You've got our throttle system up here, so it's a single cable, and again that actuates the throttle on the engine as well as the auto lube. We've got all those components, the engine mount, the new RapidChange, and the left side tracking has all been bolted to our rectangular welded steel head assembly. So we use a rectangular steel tube, it's all welded, the engine mount's all welded in, and that gives us the rigidity and the strength needed by having that tube all put together as a solid structure. And next I want to talk about the handle assembly that the throttle's attached to. So we've built in adjustment with this handle assembly. Right now we've got it on a ground mount, so we've got the handle up, it makes it nice and fit. Now that we've gone over the features and the details and the way the mill's built, I really want to get a log on this, and we'll show you how it cuts and how this mill works. Now that we've got this log loaded, I wanted to talk a little bit about the log we have on. So this is an oak log. It's not freshly felled. It's about 1.5 years old. So we get asked a lot whether we should cut them green or cut them aged. Ideally, you'd cut them as green as possible. There's less stress in the log. But as you go along, you can still mill old logs. You can mill reclaimed logs or reclaimed timbers. This mill is more than capable. And we'll show you what it does on this older oak log here today. It's about 15 inches in diameter, this log, and it's 9 feet long. So now that we've covered that, I want to fire this up and we'll do a few passes. I'm going to start by squaring this log up. Once you get a square surface, it's easier to clamp and be held tight. So yeah, we're going to square the top, rotate it 180, and then we'll get it into a square cant, and then we'll start taking some boards off and show you how it works. I'm going to clamp the log. I've got it tight against the back log supports now. And to get the log centered on the mill, you can lower the support so that it overhangs the side of the support, and that'll let you center it up on the bunks so it's centered on the blade. I'm going to come around to the side here with a clamp, and we can get our clamp going to hold this log tight. And then we can come around to the back here and we'll eye up our first cut. From the back once we get it started. as you can see, we've taken that 15-inch diameter log and we've cut most of our boards at 4.4, which is just over an inch. We've cut about 80 board feet. In the process there, I cut a few veneers just to show the accuracy of the machine and the way it was cutting. I have this on the standard setup, so this will let me cut 10-foot long logs, but we do offer track extensions that are 6 foot 5 inches. So with the track extension, you can move that up to 16 foot 5, etc. And you can add as many extensions as you'd like when you're working with a ground mount setup. So we've gone ahead and we've put the HM122 on the optional off-road trailer package. You'll see we've got large off-road tires and we've got the gray components which make up the frame and the support posts. So we'll start with the tongue. We've got a 2-inch ball and coupler. We have a tongue jack, allows you to put it on and off. We also have locations to utilize this tongue jack while leveling, but I'll show you that in a moment. We have custom end bunks that go on and replace the standard end bunks, and then the leveling legs come down out of those and get tightened with the T-handles. We follow the tongue back, you'll start to see the main support frame or the subframe that fits under the galvanized track. This subframe made up of laser plates, 2.5 by 2.5 tubing, and here's that jack mount that allows us to utilize the jacks when leveling and setting the saw head up. Again, we have more support posts and the T-handle clamps to keep them in place once we get it level. You'll see these components here get installed between the laser plates on the mill, and then give us our locking pins that allow us to lock the head on the track in a specific location. And then they'll come out once we're ready to use the mill. So these are transport lock pins. And we've set this up to give us a specific tongue weight for transport. As you go further back, you're going to see that the large tires, these are 6-ply off-road ATV style tires. Again, we've got the protectors here. These tires and the axle are removable. So there's a pin comes out and the axle is removable. The reason for that, it's in your walking path on the operator side of the mill. As we move further back, you're going to notice the second, and the third and the fourth set of these support legs. In this setup, we can again mill the 10-foot long logs, and it's just around 13 feet of track plus the tongue in the front. I'm going to go now, I'm going to take my level, and I'm going to get this set up and level fore aft and left to right using the jacks and the posts and the support legs, and then we'll get a log on it. So I finished leveling up the track system, front to back and left to right. And now I'm going to remove the last locking pin for the head, and we'll get the head pushed back and out of the way so we can get a log on the mill. Now before you put a log on here, we're going to want to raise up our back log supports to give us something to roll that log into. And you'll also see that we have a nice elevated work surface, but now we need to find a way to get that log up onto the deck or the bunks. So we do have an optional log loading ramp kit with a winch that's going to fit in our post here, or our socket here. You could also use equipment, a tractor, a loader, and you'll notice the bunks are elevated over the tracks, so you could come in with your forks and lower your log onto the bunks and then back out. I'm going to go ahead now, we'll get the ramp set up, we'll get the winch in, and we'll bring a log up onto the mill. So the log loading ramp kit consists of the 2 ramps that fit in. There's a chunk of key stock on the back edge here that's going to tuck right up tight to the rail and stop the ramps from getting pushed in while you're loading. We also have key stock along the top edge of the ramps, and that forces the log to roll up, not get dragged up these ramps, and you'll see how that works. In the kit, it comes with the winch and the post, as well as the 2 ramps. And this fits down in the back log support socket here. You can tighten it in. And then we're going to take this synthetic rope, we're going to go down over the log, come back up under the log, and reattach this onto the track system. And you'll see how that works when we get a log in place and we bring the log up onto the mill. So you can see we've got the log all loaded up here. We've got it clamped now. This is a sugar maple or hard maple. It's been laying around for a few years, so it's going to be spalted. We should have some good character in the wood as we take the boards off. At the butt end here, it's about 17 inches. And at the top end there, it's around 15 inches in diameter. You'll see on the trailer we have a nice working height. So, you know, your clamp and your log supports, you don't have to reach down as much to get to them and do the adjustments, which is nice. It's good on the ergonomics for the user. I'm going to go around now and we'll get this mill fired up, we'll get the head raised up, and we'll get our first cut off this log. This has been our demo video for the off-road trailer that fits on our HM122 Sawmill. We've gone ahead and installed our trailer track extension. With this extension on, it adds an additional 6 foot 5 inches in cut length. So with the original cut of 10 feet and then the extension, I'm now at just over 16 feet in available cut length. When you buy the extension, we also provide a second log clamp. We're going to provide another set of long and short log supports. The original end bunk that was in this location gets moved down to the new end. Now this bunk comes in the box, and then we have our unique folding bunk assembly. And what this feature is going to allow us to do is take this track extension and fold it up out of the way during transport and during storage. So now we can travel around at a regular trailer length, but then when we get to location, we have the ability to fold this down and cut another 6 foot 5 inches without having such a long trailer to take with us. And again, for storage, this helps if you're going to put it away in the garage or in the shop. Before you're going to want to take it anywhere, you're going to need to secure all the legs, make sure all the T-handles are secure. You can position the clamp. You'll see at the top here, we have some pins that sit into these V brackets, and these V brackets are solidly bolted to the saw head. And this creates a structural member from the back of the trailer right through to the saw head, and it keeps everything solid and in place. Especially important when you're doing any off-roading with it as a total package. Now we are also going to go ahead and we're going to use a ratchet strap, and we're going to hold this down into place in the V brackets on the head during transport, as well as the 4 pins that are already in the head itself to keep it in place on the tracks. We're going to go ahead now, we'll get a vehicle on this and we'll show you how it tows. Now that you've seen how the sawmill and trailer tows, I hope you saw the advantage of having that track extension folded up and keeping it in its standard length. Especially when you're off-road and there's trees, bends, you really need to keep that length short so that you don't have a tail that's swinging around when you're off-road. Next, I want to talk about how this entire package would be packed, shipped, and delivered if you're to buy it all at once. So the sawmill crate in a steel crate with a cardboard sleeve. Then we have the trailer crate, again, in a steel crate with a cardboard sleeve that stacks on top. And then from there we have the trailer and track extension. And these are shipped in a cardboard box and packed at the length of the tracks. And this again is placed on top. So that's all going to be collected at our warehouse, the one that's closest to you. And we're going to ship it by transport truck. And from there, it's going to be delivered to the ground with a curbside delivery where available with a power tailgate. I hope you found this video informative. This has been Josh with Woodland Mills.